All right.
Okay, I am recording.
All right. Good evening. I hope everybody was able to join Dr. Bishop for her session on APA 7th edition. I know Dr. Stedman, Dr. Crawford, Dr. Hamilton, Dr. Revis, they've worked hard to try to convert over the materials that we've been using from the 6th edition. And so it'll be a little bit of pains in the beginning here, I'm sure, especially since the books are on back order, but it'll be worth it in the end. We'll move over to that. So tonight,
Dr. Lamb, they can join again Tuesday night if they missed tonight.
Yeah, she didn't record tonight's session. I didn't understand why, but she just said she didn't. But you can join her again on Tuesday night, or she said she'd record that session and send it out if you were there tonight. And so hopefully you either join tonight, you can join Tuesday night, or at least you can watch the video. The issue right now seems to be getting a hold of those manuals. I asked back in the fall when this decision was made to do this, they assured me that the bookstore had them and that we would have plenty for our training. And back early in January, of course, neither of those happened because the books just aren't available. So all I know is we'll just have to be patient until they are available. If you can find the 7th edition, that would be good somewhere.
Dr. Lamb, the resources that they have in Blackboard should help them until they can get their books.
Until they can get a physical manual, that is correct.
Dr. Lamb, I saw someone post in that chat, and I'll say it too. I ordered mine on Amazon Prime, and I think it came in 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, I think if you use Prime, I saw that too.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Kayla. I think if you order it on Prime, you can get it.
Yeah, I had to get she was talking about the spiral bound. They didn't have the spiral bound. They had
right. I've got one of those.
Yeah.
And she's right. It's not user friendly. You can't lay it open. And so as Dr. Bishop, as Natalie recommended, if you can get the spiral bound, but at this point, if you can just get whatever. Kayla, do you mind telling us what it costs?
Oh gosh, $50.
I have one. I'll sell to the highest bidder. $50. I thought it was 7 or 8.
No, it was 50 for this.
Oh my goodness.
Alan said he got one for $30.
Yeah. I ordered it accidentally with my brother-in-law's card because my sister and I share an Amazon account, so I had to pay him back.
Not good. I did not know it. I would have swore when I got mine, I thought, well, they're acting like these are gold. They collected them back up from the staff development. I thought, are we struggling for a $7 or $8 manual? I didn't know they cost $50. No wonder they were checking our book bags before we left. But I snuck one out anyway. So I have one. So if one of you instructors that actually teach for a living, if you want one, let me know and I'll get it to you because I do have one. I hid one in the back. All right. So tonight I'm here to talk to you about Taskstream. And so what I've done, you should have gotten an email today on your Gardner Web email if you didn't check it, because it's very, very, very time sensitive. And this is from our Taskstream coordinator, Seth Oprah, who's also our licensure person. And those two things go hand in hand. As a way of explanation, please remember that what goes to the state of North Carolina for you to get your license is not an exam. It's this Taskstream portfolio. We do all of our work in Blackboard, and when it's done, when you have your final evidence narratives done, we move them over to Taskstream where they're evaluated by the state graders using the state rubric. We have to collect all that data for DPI. DPI has to check those. CAPE, our accreditor, has to go in and check those. And so everything we do in Taskstream is for entities outside of Gardner Web. What we do in Blackboard is for us. And so I'll have students say, well, I did it all in Blackboard. Well, that's fine for us in your class, but it's got to go to Department of Public Instruction, and it's got to go to our accreditors as well. And so that's why, and we have to do a lot of statistical analysis on that. I have to run a lot of reports and do a lot of things for other entities, because we take federal money in terms of student financial aid and loans. We have to supply those folks with a lot of data as well. All of that comes out of Taskstream. I say that to say this: Taskstream will be a part of your life. Even if you're a South Carolina person, you'll have to get your North Carolina license first. Then you'll take the practices, or hopefully you've already taken it. Then you can get your South Carolina license, and you'll be certified in both. But as I said, we crosswalked all the standards. So if you go through all the classes, you'll be fine. We haven't had a student not pass the exam, and the practice exam. So the biggie, the real focus, regardless of where you work, what state you reside in, is on that Taskstream portfolio. So I've kind of gone through the first part of Seth's email, which I've copied and put in a Word document here. So here's the very, very, very important time-sensitive information. Seth sent this out earlier this afternoon, and he says in his email, in the next few hours, you will get an email. And it may come from Watermark. It may say Taskstream, and it may say Watermark. It is not spam. It is not somebody trying to sell you a timeshare in Kenya. It is, Watermark is the parent company for Taskstream. So sometimes when they come out, they say Watermark. Sometimes they say Taskstream. The important thing is it will not say Gardner Webb. This is a private vendor that we contract for. We buy these accounts for you. They're quite expensive, by the way. You pay that in your fees, but we buy these accounts for you. Now, they will send you a link to set up your account. That link's only active for 24 hours once you receive it. That's why this is time sensitive and critical. That's why we timed this where you'll get your email the night that I go over this to remind you, because you got to, when you get that thing, you've got to go in and set up your account. Now, he says that if you're a comeback student, he will work with you on that if you had an account in the past. And when you go in, your home page is going to be blank. It's not going to have spring 2020 add-on licensure program. It's just going to be blank for right now. Hopefully by the time that we meet next Thursday, your DRF, your portfolio will actually be in there. But this is your person, Seth. So when you go in and create your account and it's blank, do not send me an email, and don't send Seth one. It's going to be blank until after role verification. Once role verification is done, then he will go in and add you in from Banner, so he won't have to put you in one at a time. But you're I know this sounds crazy, but you're not officially a Gardner Webb student until role verification. And then once role verification hits, you will be in Banner, our data management system for Gardner Webb, and then he can download you into Taskstream. Hopefully verification will be Monday, and he will start getting all these accounts ready. And hopefully by the time that we meet next Thursday, you will have your Taskstream account, and you will have your DRF where you can put your portfolio. So that's kind of the system right now. So what I will do now is I will go to, I've queued up. So all I've done is typed in Taskstream. And when you go in, again, it's going to say Watermark like this, and log in, sign up, and I'm sure they'll give you directions. And then you'll select Taskstream. These are all the different products that Watermark has. We work in Taskstream. Wait a minute. It says my screen sharing is paused. Resume share. All right. Again. There we go. All right. So let me come back out one here. So when you log into Taskstream and you go to log in, sign up, it's going to ask you which of the watermark products that you're going to choose. It's going to be Taskstream. And then you'll use your username and password that you set up with them, and you'll sign in. Now, this is when you'll have a blank screen. It'll just have the top banner of Taskstream here, and hopefully you'll see that, so you'll know that you're in the right place, but it'll be blank. Eventually, you're going to get a DRF like this that says Mel's Fall or Spring 2020 add-on. That's what you're going to get. You'll get one like this, and when you go in there, I'm on Student View, it's going to look like this. And you're going to notice that over here on the left are all the things by semester that you have to do in Taskstream. So let me go over those with you. When you complete the first of your evidences and you submit your final evidence narrative, that's all 5 tasks of the app cell. That gets approved. It goes to turn it in our all that work's done in our Blackboard shell. And you pass your turn it in check, and your coach or your instructor says, you know, ready for Taskstream. You come here to Taskstream, make sure that you're on the work tab. There's 4 tabs at the top. The work tab, the comments tab, the scores, results, and resources. We only work in work and scores, results. You do not request comments in your DRF portfolio. Write that down. Because there is a place in Taskstream you can and we will use comments, but they won't be in our DRF portfolio. They're going to be in a separate web folio that we're going to create in the coming weeks. And I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But for the purposes of the DRF portfolio, if you say, well, which one? If you see these things over here to the side like this, the classes and the requirements, we don't do comments. Now, we can't disable this button, because if we do, we disable it for everything in Watermark's products, family of products, and we're going to use another one, the competency folio, a web folio, and if we turn the comments off here, we turn them off there. I asked Watermark if we could turn those off, and we work with them, and we cannot disable. But remember, we do not use the comments button in our DRF portfolio. We only use the work tab and the scores results tab so we can see our grade. That's the only 2 that we use. So if I've got my app cell completed and I want to upload it, I make sure, one, I'm on my work page. I come over here to the app cell, I click on that button, and then I click on attachments, upload from computer. I'm going to cover this again next week, but I want just to get you understanding what we're going to do. A lot of times if you hear it twice, it'll register. Add file. I'm going to go to my thumb drive, and you go wherever you've saved yours, and you're going to find your app cell, and that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to find my app cell. Open. Upload and close. Save and return. Submit work. And there you go. And then it's going to switch over here to my scores results and say, I have submitted my work. And then when my score comes back, it will be, I can manually go to that screen and check my score. So I have submitted, and you notice a little lock came up here. That meant that that tells me that my submission was received. Now, I can't go back and change it once I submit it, so don't submit the wrong one. If you do, we'll have to send it back for revision, and we'll give you 40 lashes with a wet noodle. You won't believe how many times people upload the wrong version. So that's why you should label the last one APSEL final evidence narrative. Don't send one that doesn't. I can't tell you the number of times that we have people who will send the one that's got a task missing, the fifth task is not there, or an unedited version, or one of those that still has editing marks or comments on it that they picked the wrong one. So only label one of yours APSEL final evidence narrative. And that's the one that will come here. And so you will do that for the APSEL this semester. You'll do it for the APTEL at the end of the semester. You'll do competency analysis. And competency analysis is really simple. You simply, from your work screen, click on competency analysis, edit, view your responses, and you tell it that you met all of these competency analysis, because that's what's in task 5 of the APSEL and task 4 of the APTEL. We don't make you go in and transfer them over, but you have to designate, yes, I address, and it reminds you, I have addressed all 21 competencies in competency analysis in task 5 of the APSEL and task 4 of the APTEL. I have done that. And so that's where that is. And once you have filled in all the radio dots with MET, you save and return, and again, we go back and switch your work. Very simple.
And Dr. Lamb, that is a DPI requirement.
Yes, that's a DPI requirement. You have to self-assess that you have assessed your own, you have done a competency analysis of yourself, that you have met competency in all of those 21 state required administrative competencies. You have to tell them that you have. Now, we don't make you go back and do a copy and paste from your task 5 of the APSEL and task 4. As long as you tell them you have, and you've uploaded your APSEL and your APTEL, if they want to see, they can go look at those documents, because they'll have that as well. But we've taken that step out to save you that time and trouble of having to go back and copy and paste those in. As long as you tell them you've met it, again, that's a DPI requirement. You have to acknowledge every semester, that in the beginning semester and the last, that you have met your competency analysis. Now, the fourth thing that's due and final thing in your Taskstream DRF portfolio this semester is your School of Ed dispositions. You edit your responses. Now, you can do this as soon as you get your Taskstream account. I would go in and do it. That'd be the first thing that I would do. And you go in and rate yourself on these dispositional behaviors. And there's not many of them. It just takes a couple minutes to do them. And you rate yourself unsatisfactory to exceeds. Now, here's the only catch on this one. You can go in and do this. We'll trust you. We'll believe you. You self-assess. But here's the thing. If on any of these dispositional behaviors you believe that you exceed expectations, you have to tell us why in this narrative box down here. If you don't think you exceed, if you think you're unsatisfactory, needs improvement, or you just meet expectation, all you have to do is put a radio dot in that little round circle. But if you think you exceed, the state requires you to tell us why you think you exceed. I have students all the time. I'm the best in the world. And then they tell me why. Now, most of the time, it's based on because I want to be or because I think I am. Your argument should be about things that you've done or can do. If you want to argue that you exceed expectations in learner development, that's wonderful. Just tell us what you do on a daily basis to exceed expectation on learner development. Again, if you choose any of the first 3 boxes, you don't have to do that. But if you choose that last one, you just got to tell us why. Now we're going to read those, and if we agree with you, we'll mark you as exceeds. If you don't, we'll mark you where we think you go. But the idea is you'll do this every semester, and the goal is by the time that you get out of the program, you exceed. Not everybody does on all of them, but that is the goal. The state has that as the goal. They want you to develop enough along the way. If you start out there, wonderful. But don't think that you're less than if you don't start out exceeding expectation. That's kind of the reason you got in the program.
Dr.
If
Lamb,
you're already there, you wouldn't need us.
Somebody asked a question, could they put a link in there showing?
Don't hyperlink.
Don't
Type
put
it
any
out.
links in there, yeah.
This is not your competency folio. Don't hyperlink this one. We're going to show you in a minute where you can hyperlink, but this is not it. You've got to write it out. They want to hear your argument.
And Dr. Lamb, there are a few people every now and then
There
based
are.
on their jobs, and sometimes some of you are in different jobs. There may be one of all of these areas that that you exceed based on what you have
Absolutely.
to do, and we're okay with that. But
we're not doubting you on that, but
yeah.
But if you're if you've never had any administrative experience, they're not asking you if you exceed expectations on learner development as a teacher. They're asking if you exceeded as an administrator. And so it's kind of hard for you to argue that you exceed expectations as an administrator when you're not an administrator. So some of you who are already APs and some of you head of schools or principals, and there's a few in the group, you probably will. But it also gives us a chance to look at the distribution when we start, where we start and where we finish. What's most important is where you finish, not where you start.
Dr. Lamb, somebody just asked again, where is this found in Taskstream? Can you back out and show them one more time where you got this from?
This is the fourth of the things that are required School of Ed dispositions. When you click on your DRF portfolio and you're on the work page, there's 4 things due this semester: your APTEL, competency analysis at the end of the semester, and School of Ed dispositions at the first of the semester.
Now, you don't have this yet. Dr. Lamb said that hopefully you'll have it by next week.
It will be blank until after role verification, and then it will magically appear. But not until role verification. At that point, you become an official Gardner Webb student. You're in Banner for good or for bad. Then Seth can download you, and then you will have a program. But until that point, I had him speed up this email. Normally, he doesn't send it until after verification. I had him send this email out for our meeting tonight and go ahead and get you in. But he said it'd be blank until you verify. And so we'll verify you probably on Monday, and hopefully by Wednesday, this will be populated. And I'll go through it briefly next week as well. So next week's session, hopefully, we'll have this and it won't take too long. All right. So those are the things that are due. Then next semester, you'll have the OMA to skip in your dispositions. Your final semester, the CAP, the PSYOP, dispositions, competency analysis. There's a completer survey that you will take at that time. You'll also upload your final competency folio that you create separately. I'm going to talk about that next. And then that internship log, that paper log or electronic, ever how you decide to do it, and it's found in the clinical internship handbook and also the site supervisor's handbook, where you document your 80 hours each semester of clinical hours at your site and have your principal sign, or your AP, whoever your site supervisor, you have them sign at the end of the semester. That goes in here as well. Now, this is the first IQ test. Do not put the semester ones in here and submit it for evaluation. This is for the final. Once you're at the end of your program, you have all 3 of them, one from the spring, summer, and fall. You put the 3 of them here, upload them, submit them for evaluation, and we evaluate those one time. The individual semester logs do not go here. they go in your competency folio. It's also a part of Taskstream, but it's a completely different folio from this one. And so, you will move that final competency folio over here once it's complete at the very, very end of your program. But your internship logs, again, at the very, very end of your program, you will bring those over here as well. So this is so in the end, this is what goes to DPI for your license. This is what go to CAPE for accreditation purposes. This is what goes. Now, the piece of this that's not in here right now is that competency folio. You have to create that separately. And the reason why you have to create that separately is we're going to make it as a portable folio that you can share. This folio is specifically, again, for DPI and for our accreditors to make sure that you did what you said you did. Now, do not confuse competency analysis where you tell people how you're competent with competency folio where you show people how you're competent. What that means is we want things in your competency folio. We want agendas, minutes, pictures, videos, hyperlinks. We want all of that stuff in your competency folio that shows your competency, that proves, that is evidence of. We call those artifacts. The written narrative that goes in the DRL portfolio, we refer to those as evidences. The artifacts, the accompanying artifacts that show that you did the work that you said you did, we call those artifacts, those things. Those go into a competency folio. Now, the reason why we make it portable so that you can share it is for two reasons. Number one, you can publish and share it with a prospective employer prior to an interview so that they can see examples of the work that you've done. They don't want to read your evidences. They want to see stuff. Because guess how principals are evaluated and assistant principals? On evidence artifacts. The state evaluation manual that we'll cover later in your program gives you examples of what an evidence would be, written narrative, and shows what acceptable artifacts are. We're getting you in that habit of evidence. You tell us what you did in your evidence, you show us with your artifact. And so you can publish and share your artifact with prospective employers. That's number one. And number two, if you do it as we tell you to do this, you can take your transcript from Gardner Webb and you can take your portfolio, your web folio, your competency folio. You can submit the hyperlink to it and your transcript, and you get your certificate renewal credits for digital teaching and learning. It saves you a bunch of money and time, but you got to do it the right way. So this is what it's going to look like in the end. Let me get out of this. Hopefully I won't lose my share.
Dr. Lamb, while you're coming out of it, so I don't want to assume anything. So you realize that what Dr. Lamb is introducing tonight, you've got Blackboard, you'll have a Blackboard account, and you will have a Taskstream account, two entirely different accounts and two entirely different functions.
Yep. So this is what Anera Henderson's competency folio looks like. As you can see over here on the left,
in a minute, unless you want
are all of
just a little bit, not full. Both. Okay.
Let's see. Everybody make sure you're muted. And so the first of the 21 competencies is communication. The last is visionary. Now, you do not put anything for digital learning competencies. You say, well, Dale, didn't you say we could get our credit? They have to be distributed in the first 21. There's 18 of them. We have integrated them into the first these. Now, if you click on this, it'll tell you what they are, but it won't allow you to upload anything there, and there's a reason why. you have to, in order to get credit, renewal credit, you have to show your digital learning competencies in context with other things. It can't just be standalone things. So that's why, and I'll show you what that means. So this is what Anera did. So here are the directions for communication competencies. You must have 3, one for each of the semesters that you're in the program. One has to come from the work you did during your app cell, one to SOP, that's your last semester, and one can be open-ended that comes from the clinical hours that you do at your school. Now, additionally, one of those 3 must address the following digital learning competency, and it tells you what it is. So as you can see, Anera has given us a narrative about what we're going to see. She has told which one is the app cell, which one is open-ended, and which one's the SOP. She has further highlighted which of these are digital learning. Only one had to be, but she had 2, and then she has attached those 3 artifacts right there. That's what it looks like. It's just 2 documents and a video. She's attached those. And so you don't have to write War and Peace here. You don't have to tell us a whole bunch of stuff. You just set up whatever you're going to show us. But this is what's important, are these things down here. These are artifacts. That's what the state wants in this portfolio. This is what CAPE requires. This is what a potential employer wants to see. They don't want to read about your evidences. They want you to show us the stuff you did.
And Dr. Lamb, that's why it's a folio. A folio shows stuff.
And it's portable. Your Taskstream portfolio is not portable. We can't download it and show a potential employer. That's not allowable under that. That goes straight to DPI electronically. This, because it's a separate web folio, it belongs to you. You can use it. You can take it to a job interview. You can send it to employers. You can also, I will show you at the end. We're not going to show you now because somebody will do it next week. We'll show you how to upload this over into your DRF as a part of that portfolio that goes to the state. But you create it separately for the reason that it's yours, and you have a lot more control over it, and it's stuff. And that's why it goes in here. So you can use hyperlinks in here. You can use videos. You can just put all kinds of stuff in here. That's what communication change management. Again, the directions will be right here. It'll tell you, all right, for change management, again, one's got to come from the app cell site, one open-ended. One of them has to be this kind of digital learning competency. And then again, she's done the same thing, and there's her 3 artifacts right there. Conflict management. One comes from the app cell, one from the app tel, one open-ended. There you go. Conflict management, that's you this semester right there. App cell, app tel, open-ended. Just one. Digital learning, got to do one of those. And
Dr.
there
Lamb,
it is.
will you address this question? It says, during this entire program, we are guided to prepare this folio.
Well, of course, that's what we're doing tonight. That's what your coach does. That's why I told you earlier, there is a time in Taskstream that you're going to use comments. You can request comments on your, because it's not the DRF portfolio. Also, by separating it out, you can request comments on this. We will teach you next week, or in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whenever we meet again. We will teach you how to make your own folio. You get to design what you want it to look like in terms of the graphics. And yes, we will work with you. That's what your coaches will do. They will work with you to build your folio of artifacts.
And you can start on that anytime.
Comments.
Yeah, after next week, you'll be able to start building the things to go in there, so you're not doing everything at the last minute.
And you put 2 or 3 in what you think they should be. You can request comments, go straight to your coach. They get a notification of Taskstream. They go in, look at it, and they tell you, yeah, you're on the right track, or no, you're way off. They'll tell you one of those things, and they will guide you in the development of your competency folio.
Yeah.
It is it is a integral part of the program. This is not an own your own kind of thing.
And once you get it built,
Creative thinking.
yeah, once you get it built, if you start doing a little bit along, it surely will make your life much easier towards the end of the program, where you're not having to do it all at one time.
Yep. You know, you build it each semester. You got to do 21, all 21 each semester. You don't wait to the end and try to do 63 at the end. You build it as you go. You can designate an hour. If you spend an hour a week on this, you'll have more than enough time. You only have to write a quick narrative, tell us, set up whatever you're going to show us, and upload that thing. That's what you do. But put a little thought in it, hit your digital learning competencies, highlight them, and you can get your renewal credit as well. But this is what it's going to look like once you get it built out. Now, say, Dale, how do I build this thing? All
Dr.
right.
Lamb, when they finish the APSL, at the end of the APSL, they will have 12 competencies they can go ahead and take care of.
Mm-hmm.
So midway, you will be able to go ahead and do more than half of this before the end of the semester.
You can go in and put them in. All right, and they've got 2 documents that's in your Blackboard shell that tells you what competencies are and where you'll find them. Competency artifacts, like the minutes from your first PLC meeting that you should be doing right about now. That's an artifact. That's a communication artifact. The agenda, that's an artifact. A video or pictures of your team meeting, that would be an artifact. We have those scheduled out. Every task of every one of the 6 evidences, we tell you exactly what artifact was created by doing that. It's a cheat sheet. It's really simple. That's in your Blackboard shell. When I close out Taskstream, I'm going to go that. And we tell you what open-endeds are too. And where like having a parent meeting, we tell you if you've got something from that, like an agenda, a meeting, or a picture, we even tell you which of the 21 competencies that will satisfy. We've even got a cheat sheet for the open-ended ones as well. So if you can follow 2 simple documents, oh, this is where that artifact is. This is really simple. The hard part is you have to have done the work. No way to fake it. And that's all that the state and Kate, our accreditor, they're just interested in that you have done the work and you hadn't faked it. The person who's looking to hire you wants to see the quality of your work. So I'd make my folio look as neat and as tidy as an arrows that you just saw. I think that's very impressive. It's just straight and to the point. Here's what I did, boom. Here's the artifact. Here's what I did, boom. You saw. I mean, it's 5 minutes of writing a narrative. This is what you're going to see. Boom, there it is. Very, very clean, quick, to the point. You're not arguing for competency in your folio. You're showing us competence. Competency analysis that you write in the last task of each of your evidences, you're arguing competency. You've already done that. We want you to show us now. And we'll show you those 2 documents in your Blackboard shell just when I get through with this. Trying to look at my time here. All right, I'm good. All right, so when your Taskstream appears, you'll notice that I went to the DRF portfolio. You notice that there's a banner across the top here, a toolbar. Under folios and web pages, you simply click on that, and it will move out of your DRF portfolio into another function in Taskstream, folios and web pages. And you say, well, will I have one in there? Nope. And you won't ever have one in there until you create it. There's a video in your Blackboard shell. I'll do it for you tonight, and I'll do it for you again next week or the week following whenever we did this. But there's also a video in there of how to create your competency folio. Again, it's your folio. If I create it, you will not have control of it. You will not be the owner. In order for you to have ownership of it, to share it with who you want to, prospective employers, etc., you have to create it. That's just part of the rules of Taskstream. So when you get in here, when you get the folios and web pages, you select the name that you want to name yours. And you click on the Create New button. And it says, do you want to create one that says Spring 2020 Dale? I really do. All right, and then it's going to ask you, which template do you want to use? You're going to use a custom template designed by your learning community. That would be me. You click on that button and it gives you a drop-down menu. Now, the one that I have created for you to use says Competencies for 21st Century Leaders. You click on that one, you're golden. Continue. You pick your background, what you like the looks of. Let's see. I'm going to pick this one. I've never picked that one. Okay, I like that one, so I'm going to apply it. And I'll preview it for you. And so there's mine. It looks like an arrow. Look at that. Doesn't that look nice? And so when I click on communication, looks just like an arrow. It has all the directions all the way down through there. And then you simply go in and add your materials. Now you say, but Dale, I don't see how to add it. Remember, I'm still in the preview. So what I got to do now is I got to get out. I got to go back to all folios and web pages, and now I got to find mine again, the one I just created. It'll probably be at the bottom. Story of my life. There it is. Now, when I click on it, it's going to be live. Look at there. And so now when I click on communication, it's going to give me that same directions, but it's going to give me the opportunity for attachments. So somebody in this group will email me, Mom won't let me add anything because you're still in the preview. You got to go out and come back to folios and web pages. You got to go back and find it. And this is now the working format that it looks like. And so when you put one in, so here's the communication one. I'm going to click on attachments. Now, I'm going to do that from my computer or file. Now, if I'd have had something else, it gives me different options. If I'm going to upload a video, I need to click on that button. If I'm going to upload a hyperlink, I got to click on that button. If I'm going to upload a PowerPoint, a Prezi, any of that, I click on the slideshow button. If I'm going to upload a PDF, I click on text and image. Or if I'm going to upload a JPEG or a PNG, JPEG being a picture, PNG being a screenshot. Now, I really like screenshots. That's what I would do most of. Now, according to what kind of computer you've got, most of you can hit the Windows key and print screen. It'll take a picture and put it in your picture file in your file manager. You just upload those pictures. I take pictures of emails. I do that. I take a picture of an email and just upload that PNG, that screenshot. You can take pictures with your phone. Send them to your email, upload them from there. That's JPEGs. But the trick is make sure you understand. It gives you the option, but you've got to select the right button for the type of media you're trying to upload. So, again, I'm just going to go ahead and upload a file, upload from computer, add file. I'm going to add something from my app cell. My app cell is my first one. We'll say I've got, I've got a an agenda. This is an agenda. I've got that Apptelligent. Let's see. I've got an agenda, I think, or I've got minutes. Let me see. This is PACE partnership. Okay. Right here is an agenda that I used this week in a partnership meeting. I just do that, upload and close, PACE partnership, save and return. Now, it's here. This is an agenda of a presentation that I did Monday at Walmart Distribution Center. All right, and that would be an example of, that would be a communication example. So now what I would do is I won't say, Dr. Stedman's my coach. I want to know if this is appropriate. Now I haven't written anything yet. I can go back and attach, you know, a narrative piece. And so I can do a section and do that. And so I can do an edit, and where I go in and I can edit this, and I can save and return it. I can also write something. But before I wrote anything, I would probably, well, you can write something. And then I would request comments from my coach. You click on this button, the one you've got, which is communication, continue. Now, I've got everybody's, but yours will go straight to your coach, and they'll get an email, ding, and they'll know to go look at your folio right quick and make sure that that's the appropriate way to use that artifact. So yes, you get immediate feedback from your coach on this. Your coach specifically will work with you on building your competency folio. And so it's just that simple. We have a video on how to build this. This is a really neat thing for you to have. And so, again, main text. Look at there. Isn't that amazing? Now, you'll notice I kind of did that backwards. I would put my narrative, I'd click on main text first, then upload it, and it'll come out below it. I could edit that and turn them around, but I won't bother. You get it. Put your little narrative, your blurb explaining what you're going to upload, and then upload, and it'll look like a narrative. It'll look like
a narrative is almost a perfect example, Dr. Lamb.
It'll look like that. You see where she's got her narrative up top and then her file attachment and web links below. Hers is the perfect example.
Yeah.
She's my intern.
Yeah.
No, hers is great. It has anything to do with me. She overcame having to work with me.
It is an excellent.
It is an excellent one. But yes, that's so it's fairly simple. The directions for each one of them are already embedded there. I had those put in. They're already there. No, so that way you don't have to have any other documents or any of that thing when you get started. You click on conflict management, it tells you exactly what you've got to have. Now, you say, Dale, where am I going to find these artifacts? I don't know if I can find these artifacts. We have created 2 documents for you. Dr. Stedman, I'm sure, has uploaded them in your shell. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Blackboard.
Dr. Lamb, while you're going there, I just, some of them had asked, we will remind them specifically next week exactly who their clinical coach twos are, so they'll know which person that they need to be requesting comments from.
Well, it's supposed to go straight to them without them
Yeah,
having to
yeah.
select.
Well,
I've
they need
taken
to, yeah, they
they
need to know who they are anyway, yeah.
They need to know who they are anyway. So this is Dr. Revis's shell. I'm guessing under, let's see. Here we go. Under Mel's Handbook and Competency Folio Resources, under here, these two documents right here. All right, so you want to know, if I'm doing the app sale and it says I have to have one from the app sale this semester, what kind of things are artifacts? What might I generate from doing the app sale that would serve as an artifact? And I want you to look. We've got them all mapped out for you right here. So in task 1 of the app sale, you have to get an email permission from your principal, a PLC agenda, PLC amendment, pictures or video of your meeting. These are all artifacts that would go in your competency folio for the app sale. Now, I've got the competencies numbered. So these would satisfy any of these competencies, 1, 3, 6, 12, and 20. And what that means is I've numbered them right here. I didn't have room to put them. So 1 would be communication, 3, conflict management, 6, delegation, 12, organizational ability, and 20, time management. It would satisfy any of those competencies. And down the line, so that's the validated scores. That's an artifact. That satisfies competency 16 and 18. Search study abstracts, picture or video of your action plan presentation. Those are the artifacts that you will create or generate by doing the work that you're supposed to, by doing the app sale this semester again. It's prove that you did what you said you did, that you're not a paper tiger, that you actually went out and did the work. We have this from every one of your evidences. We have all the artifacts that you will generate. So when it asks you for an artifact from the app sale, if you did the work, you'll have it. And most of this stuff I just screenshot. And then you say, well, it says he wants an open-ended one. No problem. So we'll even tell you what they are, open-ended competency artifacts just from your clinical experience at your school. So if you address a small or large group of adults and you've got something from that, like an agenda or a picture, that will fit dialogue, inquiry, or communication. That's an artifact for them. Conduct a group parent meeting if you've got a roll of the people who attended or a picture of you up leading that, something of that way. That's why it's called open-ended. You figure out, we tell you what the event is and where it fits, and you figure out, how am I going to capture that? That's why it's called open-ended. You could capture it with a picture. You could capture it with a video. You could represent that with a minutes or agenda, a sign-in sheet. That's open-ended. You show your creativity and you differentiate yourself with the artifact you pick. That's why we call them open-ended. We tell you where they are and what they are. You got to go and find it. You determine how you want to represent that. This is where your creativity and individuality comes in. Deal with one discipline incident, that would be conflict management. I'd simply take and screenshot the kid's, Power School disciplinary report, redact his name, and there you go. Shows you I did that. Pretty simple. This is kind of plug and play. But remember, this ought to be something that you would be proud to show a prospective employer. This is the piece that helps Gardner-Webb folks get jobs over everybody else. See, when you walk in the door for your first AP interview and you're at the same level as everybody else, you don't have any experience. That's your weakness. You don't have any experience. But if you can show them, not tell them, and not have them read some long, boring evidence narrative, if you can show them, look at all the stuff I've done, and they see how neat and organized it is, just like Anera's. I'd hire her just based on how neat her folio is, and how organized and how sensible. And when you click on her individual artifacts, They are excellent things. They're hyperlinks, they're videos. I mean, you see, wow, this lady really worked her tail off, pardon my language, during her clinical experience. And while she was doing this, wow, what a go-getter she is. That's what jumps out and grabs you from her folio, is when you start clicking on those artifacts. Man, how involved she was. She was up in front of people. What a leader she is. I mean, you can try to portray that in your interview. But if you've got this folio and you've sent it to a prospective employer and they've looked at that, or you could take it with you and boom, you could look at it, you could email it to them the morning of your interview, and you could look at that, and that principal could review that and could see that. It's very powerful. Very, very powerful. It creates an impact that you can't create any other way. And that's why we do it this way. It meets the requirements that we have to do it, but also it is a very powerful tool for you to take and get a job with. It also allows you, if nothing else, to get your digital teaching and learning CEUs and not have to pay for those and spend the time to do that separately. Pretty neat thing.
Dr. Lamb, somebody asked the question, the 12 competencies that you will complete for the APSO and the 9 for the APTEL, you will do narrative work for each of those. So
it's competency analysis.
Yeah, that's an analysis. And what
that's analysis that goes in your paper.
Right, and
this
the folio will be your artifacts.
That's the artifacts.
Now,
the next question is, they have to match. No, but
yeah,
it would be good if they did.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to do some narrative work with the folio, just a brief explanation,
just to tell us what it is.
Yeah, but that's where your artifacts go.
Yeah, you don't argue competency in your competency folio. You just tell us what the item is, and we'll determine your level of competency by looking at the item. In competency analysis in your paper, in APSEL Task 5 and APTEL Task 4, you make your argument for your competency there to your professor who believes, and then to the state grader that you get your chance to state your case there.
And DPI is going to look
you
at
got
the
to
folio.
show your case.
And DPI is going to look at the folio. That's what they
Absolutely.
look at to see if you have done what you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
This is the proof in the pudding.
That's right. A long, long time ago, in a land far, far away, when we won't lump Dr. Crawford and Dr. Hamilton in this group, but when Dr. Stedman and I came along,
he talks about me all the time.
You know he's older than I am.
By 1 month, guys, by 1 month.
But a long time ago, in a land far, far away, you had to be a full-time intern for a year. And it was a different vision in terms of you had to be a full-time intern, and people from the college came out and they looked at, and there was no doubt that you were interning, because that was your full-time job that they were paying you for. In more modern times, we have revisioned the internship process, and you work a full-time job. You may be a full-time teacher in that school. And the question arises, how do we know that you interned in that school? You weren't a full-time intern. You didn't have an office up in the administrative street. You were down there teaching all day. How do we know that you did those 80 clinical hours that you were required to do? It's the proof in the pudding, as Dr. Stedman said. So as the program, the iterations of the program have changed over the last 30 or so years, how we go about proving what we did had to change as well. And so to be able to prove to DPI and our accreditors that you actually did a clinical internship, that you did 80 hours of administrative things every semester, you have to have a log of those activities signed by a certified administrator, and you have to have a competency folio with the artifacts or proof items in it that you would have generated if you did the work that you said that you were going to do or that you did. Now, they do the same thing for principals now. In the evaluation manual, it speaks to what your evidence narrative has to have during your evaluation cycle. It also lists what the acceptable artifacts would be. If you've done the work you said you did, you would have generated these artifacts. And they even give you a list, just like we do, of what the artifacts would be for each of the standards that you're assessed on. I know that I'm just about out of time, but that's the last thing that I'm going to show you tonight. Well, I am out of time. If I can get it to come up quickly, I will do that. I hope that this will go. Oh, I better play the lottery. I'm lucky tonight. All right, so it goes through all these things. It talks about the standards that you're evaluating on, 21 competencies, and the standards are embedded in the work that we do, by the way. An artifact is a product resulting from a principal's, assistant principal's work. It's a product. They are natural byproducts of work and are not created for the purpose of satisfying evaluation requirements. It means you can't argue, you can't just tell us. You can't just create a document, this is what I did. That's not acceptable. An artifact is a byproduct, the natural byproduct of the work that you do. They support the rating that you get. And they give you examples of what an artifact would be. They tell you this is what we're looking for, just like the list that I just gave you. An evidence is a document or a written narrative that describes or confirms the work that you did. So evidence and artifact are not interchangeable terms. You better learn that before you get evaluated. An evidence is a written narrative. That's why we call them APSEL final evidence narrative. Because an evidence is a narrative that tells us what you did. An artifact shows us what you did. It is a natural byproduct of your work. They will not accept a little narrative that said, I did X, Y, and Z. Well, good for you. No. X, show us that if you did it, there will be something that represents that. And right here, they tell you exactly what they'll accept. These are artifacts. We do the same thing with you. We're teaching you the exact same system. Now, here's the good news. I will not argue. I will argue the data here. But I will not generalize the data further than what the data actually says. So let me do a share. If we look at Gardner-Webb's exit data for the last 3 years, this is people who graduated from us in the last 3 years. And are in assistant principal and principal jobs across North and South Carolina. We have their data now. These are the highest two categories, accomplished and distinguished. They're measured on five of the executive standards. Here's what you will notice. This is in blue is Gardner-Webb, and then you have the state average here. You will notice that Gardner-Webb graduates exceeded the state average significantly in all 5 standards, both in the accomplished and distinguished categories. We're the only school that did that. Now, what I am telling you is this. My argument is not that the data says that we have superior administrators. We believe that, but what this data is proof of, by the time you get through with us, you will really understand the evidence artifact system, which really will really get you ahead at evaluation time. Now, I can't make the leap that makes you a great administrator. I believe it does, but the data bears out that if you learn and follow and do what we have you do, when you get in your job, you'll know what you're doing. and your evaluations will reflect that. And that's why it's important to know the difference between an evidence and an artifact, for us to have one portfolio for your evidences and another folio for your artifacts. That artifact, you get an extra back bounce. You can use it to get a job. You can use it to get CEUs renewal credit. But, you know, by doing it this way and separating it, you get an understanding, oh, I've got to be competent, you know, I've got to do an evidence, and I can argue my competency in that evidence, because that's where you do narrative work, is in an evidence. But when it comes to that competency folio, I got to show my work. I can't just tell them. I got to show them through the things that are byproducts of the work that I did. And so that's the whole notion here, is that we are training you not only to do a good job out in your job, but to be able to compete at evaluation time as well. So that you can keep your job and make promotion and move on in your career. You got in this program to further advance your career. And this is an eye toward that right now tonight. All right, who's doing the benediction tonight? I'm done.
Okay, I think Dr. Revis is on there. Dr. Revis, that's your job.
Okay, so rather than preach a little sermonette, I will just say to you, when your clinical coach one comes out to visit with you, he or she will be glad to go back over your DRF folio and your Taskstream if you have access to them at that point. Again, these are things that you're going to do down the road, and if you ever have any questions, you know, we're a phone call, email away for clarification. We'll be glad to help you in any way.
Dr. Hamilton, Dr. Crawford, anything in closing you need to say? Okay, Dr. Hamilton.
Just thank you all for being with us. I know it feels a little overwhelming right now, but it's just step by step, day by day, and we're gonna walk through it with you, and we're here to support you and help you.
We're off to a good start.
Yeah, and I can
We
promise
are off
you,
to a good start.
having done what Dr. Lamb has done tonight, when he is able to come back next week, it's going to make things so much more understandable and easier to do what he's going to be doing next week.
Yeah, I just set it up tonight so you could know what questions to answer next week. The last question of the evening is leading an intervention team meeting a good artifact? It's a great artifact. That one is just, that's a great one. Anything that you show, any group that you show that you are leading is a great artifact. Now, it wouldn't be a great artifact if you just sat in the back like me about half asleep. That would not be. Don't be Baptist in it now, sitting in the back row sleeping. You need to be in the front.
Is that a word?
And it is for me. I use Baptist as a verb. I call it Baptist. You know, sitting in the back row, sleeping, snoring, backbiting, backsliding, all that stuff that Baptists normally do, me being chief among them. I use it as a verb, yes. And so, but my point is anything that you're leading, anything that you're in charge of, that's a great artifact. That's why I say if you've got a picture of you standing up in front of a group of parents, anything that you are leading, this is a leadership program, is a super, super great artifact. That's the kind of stuff that principals like to see. That would be, you know, that is a Google Calendar invitation, you know, any of those kinds of things. And see, that's a digital one as well. That shows that you're in the modern world using Google Docs, those kinds of things. Oh yeah, anything that you can show that is technology based, that's a great artifact as well. You know, times have changed. People aren't afraid of technology now. One of these days, I'll tell you the first technology story on Dr. Stedman.
Oh, I told y'all he picks on me all the time. But
That's
it's the truth. It's the truth. I promise.
But it's a true story, though. It ain't picking if it's true.
I've come a long ways, guys.
Yes, you have.
Believe it or not.
That's exactly right. You can teach old dogs new tricks. And so, you know, you want to be seen as the next era, no matter what your age is. You want to be seen as the next era and that you're modern and you're up to date. So anything that shows your technology skills, your digital skills, those are great. Anything that you're up in front of a group of people and you haven't wet your pants, that's great. You know, that you can actually pull that off. That's a good one. And so, and we have some people that can do it all behind the scenes, but when you put them up in front of parents, it doesn't go well. And so any of those things that you can show, those kinds of things that you're good with technology, that they're not going to have to tell you every day how to use Power School. They won't have to, you know, draw pictures and crayons to explain EBOS to you. That you can stand up in front of a group of people and lead them. Any of that stuff is excellent, excellent artifacts. And I believe, again, that's what differentiates our people when they go out looking for jobs. Not everybody does. Nobody does. As far as I know, we're still the only one who's doing it this way. Everybody else has got it embedded somewhere else. And so this gives us kind of a leg up on that. And so gives you the leg up, because I know you all want to move on with your careers. We appreciate you being with us tonight. As always, thank you for being with us, and thank you for choosing Gardner Webb. I'll see you next time.
And they'll get the video sometime tonight. I'll send it to the instructors, and always they'll place it under week 2 as well. So you will always be able to go back to week 2 or whatever week we're in, and it'll be there for references. Okay, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.